actually, I used to be a programmer. I haven't programmed in a few years, but now I run the studio, so we've got different teams. At times I've been a musician as well and a producer, so I was the exec producer of SingStar and of Wonderbook a few years ago, and now
you got a nice portfolio of yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are you working on right now?
So most of the studio is working on PlayStation VR, and as we've had the different announcements about it, when it was called Morpheus and so on, we've provided different demos. I don't know whether you played any here. We've got the Deep. Oh, right. Yes, okay. So we've got the Deep and the London Heist here, so I'd recommend that you play those. And so we're just working on more of that kind of content. We will be having those things available at the launch of PlayStation VR.
My question is, are these demos going to be actual games in the future or just demos?
So they will be available to people at the launch of PlayStation VR. We're still working out exactly in what format.
Probably bundled with PlayStation VR.
We're still working out that sort of stuff.
What is the window of launch for the PlayStation VR?
So all we've said so far is the first half of next year, and that's about as much information as we have.
So you think PlayStation VR will appeal to all audience? Would that be casual gamers and hardcore gamers too?
So I think it's a very good question. The thing I find to answer this, so hardcore gamers like mastery, they like to really learn and be skillful with a game. Yeah. You can do that in VR, just like you can do that
with the controller, right?
With the controller, yeah, and you can make great VR experiences with a controller. As you can make great VR experiences with Move controllers or just with the headset itself.
Yeah.
So I think we'll definitely see some great, traditional games, and by traditional I mean you have mastery, skill, bragging rights, multiplayer, all those things that people love. But I do think there's an opportunity for a bigger audience as well. So, I've mentioned earlier today, my mum did the Deep. Now, I don't think she's going to go in and play, a really hardcore shooter, but she was pretty interested in doing the shark diving. So, if I was, obviously, I'm working on PlayStation, but if I was like a consumer and I bought PlayStation VR, well, there's something there that I can do for my mum or for other members of the family who perhaps aren't the primary gamer of, the person who uses the console the most. So I do think there's an opportunity for a broader audience.
So, do you think the PlayStation 4 has the render power to produce games in a bigger scale? Because you have to build it at 60 frames per second at minimum, right? So do you think the PlayStation will have does have the render power to make bigger games with hours and hours of campaigns and like that?
So I think it's an interesting question. So yes, I do think the PlayStation 4 has the power, and yes, you're absolutely right. It's like if you imagine making a traditional game where you're guaranteeing split screen and 60 frames a second. So actually, we haven't done this kind of thing before, but that's your minimum spec rather than maximum spec. And it does mean in your production processes, you've got to keep the frame rate up as well, which perhaps in a traditional game you would wait until a bit later to optimise. But all that said, if you look at any console life cycle, look at the games that come out at the beginning and the games that come out at the end, they're always better because people have improved their tools, improved the pipeline, they've found the best places to optimize, they've found little tricks and secrets. People have shared, oh, do you know what, if you do this, you know. So the game, I'll be very proud of the games that come out when we launch, but they're only going to get better. Basically, you've got optics, you've got a screen where you've got a different view for each. You've got the blue lights on the outside, which are around the back as well, and the PlayStation camera tracks those. And then
And so the blue dots are just for statical purposes.
They're for tracking.
Okay. So you have to have a PlayStation camera to run PlayStation first, and the PlayStation Move controls are required.
They're not required.
Just game by game. Okay.
Yeah.
Prices, you can tell me about it?
I can't tell you about price. I mean, what I can say is that Andy House made a comment about price a few weeks ago. You can look that up on the internet. That's about as much as I'm going to say.
Okay, so if they search on the internet, they probably find the price range.
Well, he made a comment. I wouldn't say put price up.
Okay. But is it a trustable price range, or is it?
Well, I mean, what he said was it will be a similar price to the console. I mean, you know, I think the interesting thing is it's not like we're asking people to go and buy a supercar.
Of course,
you know, I mean, you know, there is an investment there, absolutely, and we've got to make sure that we deliver on that investment. But it's not something that's beyond the realms of people, you know. So I feel really confident that VR has an opportunity to be a real consumer product.
To finish, one last question. Why should people buy PlayStation VR?
So, from my experience, it's transformative. If you played a normal game, you enjoy it, you get involved in it, and then play VR, you get so many people come out of the demos go, oh my god, that was awesome. It's a huge step change, you know. The analogy I've used in the past is when the movies went from silent movies to talkies. You know, it's just, you actually feel like you're there. We can take you and put you in another place where you forget that you're in VR and you think you're in this other place. And that is something that we've never been able to do before.
Okay, David, thank you so much. I can't wait to play right.
Well, you know, I hope you enjoy it.